Hey everyone, it's Cal. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to pop on and say hello and let you know that the webinar is on April 16th, just in case you don't know. If you miss it, don't worry. I'll be sending out a replay. I might, because it's so long, I might do a replay and send that around. So let me know how you feel about that. And it's at 6 p.m. So I'll put a little note in the title bar there. I wanted to mention something. I was just sitting around this morning thinking about astrology. And astrology is really the king of all sciences because it's all about you, but it's also about the stars. And we have an astrological sequence within us that our body moves to a certain rhythm or algorithm, which I'm going to show you in the webinar. And we also have sort of our personal chart, which is a certain algorithm, and these two algorithms work together. I won't be talking about personal chart algorithm in the webinar. That is for masterclass, and it has to do with medical astrology. I will be talking about the algorithm that lives inside of you and things you can do to make your body move blocks and make your body work a little bit better by using something I call the zodiac code. However, in this webinar, I mean, it's already 5 hours and I'm still trying to cut it back. In this webinar, I am not going to be going into detail at all about the zodiac code. That's going to be webinar 2. Another 5-hour webinar that I have to kind of slim down. And the reason why is because in the first webinar, I'm really laying kind of the foundation because we have not been really taught to learn in a way that is mutable with all things. We are sort of been taught in kind of bits and pieces that have been kind of formed together to be called history. And really, our history is incredible. So, and yes, I know wars and killings and all this, but when you think in terms of being an infinite being and your consciousness is always alive, regardless whether you're in the whether you're in life, which is the world of light, which is the training ground, or if you're in the cosmos, if you think in terms of consciousness building, then you can kind of get over the horrible things that mankind has done to everything. It seems like the animals don't have the same sort of beastly stuff to conquer that the humans do. And there's a reason for that, which I don't want to get into. I really want to keep things really simple so that you have a real stable foundation of the basics and how things are moving. And of course, this is all from a mystic's point of view, okay? So you need to take it with a grain of salt, some things. And this is to do the way we learn normally. Now, yes, there are different methods of learning and we learn in different ways. I understand that. But generally, the most common way of learning is to build new information on already existing information. And then that acts as sort of the springboard to going into new territory. So I have used things that we know, and I have I've just looked at them differently because they're very valid, but I've taken a different perspective. And when you take this different mystic's perspective, you can see how all things are interlocked and how all things are kind of moving in the same way, even though they're very different from us. You know, the stars above, the earth below us, the animals around us, they all seem different. But in fact, if you look at things from purely an energetic point of view, they're not. They're just at different gestation points in their culmination of larger consciousness. And yeah, so I don't want to get too down the rabbit hole right now. But I did want to mention that, yeah, astrology or the stars above us, of course, they are linked to us. And not just because we travel around one, but everything on the outside of us is being mirrored in the inside of us. And that's how we have animation. That's how we have the idea of new thought. And it's that sort of idea of new thought is how the universe expands. And just as, of course, just as you go to sleep every night and are reborn every day, so too do you die in your earthly body and are reborn into the sun's cycle if you're so lucky. And this kind of sequence is happening sort of on larger scale and on smaller scale. In the quantum world, same thing, this sort of on and off switch to everything. And this on and off switch, which is kind of like, you know, the galaxy collapses and then the expansion begins again, then it collapses, then it begins again. And you can view that as sort of waking up and going to sleep, waking up with and having the expansion and then collapsing and going to sleep. And we sort of have this rhythm is moving within everything. And within this rhythm of movement is an algorithm of star sequence. And the star sequence, of course, is the forefront, but we rarely see the backdrop. And the backdrop is the infinite darkness that is so hugely intelligent. Space, the inside of the great woman's body. And understanding astrology, which in fact I'm not an astrologer. I come at this from a real grounded, practical kind of way, because that's kind of the person I am. So, but once you get this foundation, you can build on it because it gives you the basic pillars of knowledge that everything can be layered on top of, and then you get the grand view of everything, including yourself. And truly, understanding self is the biggest component in this life, because when you truly understand yourself, you can take a step back to things and your decisions are more grounded. Your life can be more spontaneous, and there's more of a sort of serendipity and more of the sort of twinkle in the eye when it comes to living, because, you know, in this sort of masculine world, everything can seem so heavy and so monotonous and repetitious and just sometimes a real drag. Like, I get it, right? But when you have this different view, because everything is how we view things, when you have this different view, you can understand the infinite orchestration of the universe. And then that's where the magic begins to happen. And again, astrology, and especially Vedic astrology, I have followed, because I track everything. I'm a researcher. I track everything. And I have noticed with Western astrology, very, as we say in Italy, così, very kind of so-so. But when you get into Vedic astrology, this is the prince of astrology, Vedic astrology. And of course, there's different types of astrology as well, which I believe the Chaldeans had their own, and maybe some other groups. I don't know. This isn't my genre. Because I'm just using the archetypes in the webinar, and the archetypes go in a certain pattern. And yeah, so astrology creates self-knowledge, but it also creates generational knowledge, and yeah, that's really what I wanted to say about astrology being sort of very ideal when it comes to the self. And this, because your journey is really all about you. And it really is all about you. It's about your body and your mind. And both of these things have to be kept up to speed. And that means developing good habits, which has been really hard. It's been super hard for me. I used to be so disciplined when I was young, you know, so disciplined. And then I did the Kundalini. And then after that, everything just fell, you know. I'd sit down and eat an entire cake, and then I'd go over and I'd have, like, you know, sushi, who knows. I was just really unbalanced, and getting back into balance has really been a big challenge for me, because there's a certain amount of mundanity that goes with it, you know, all this sort of food tracking, and having it harmonious with times of the day, and fitting your job in there, and having, you know, times with friends. But it's really about being a balanced individual, which I am going to talk about soon on another video. I'm packing, and I'm getting ready to leave now, and I'm going back to the first world. Oh, so we'll see how that goes. So there's lots going on here. And yeah, so the webinar is April 16th at 6 p.m. And if you haven't signed up for the webinar, I invite you to do so. The link is below, and the cost is very minimal, and we use the money to feed the animals here, which I will continue to do after I am gone. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to open up a nonprofit for the animals here. They're really in South Italy. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I will. South Italy needs something like that. So thank you for watching this. I hope you got something out of this. I just wanted to reiterate when the webinar is, have a little blurb about astrology, and just sort of check in. That's it. So yeah, I'm going to put the link to the webinar in the description below, and a couple other helpful links to a bunch of free stuff that I've done for everyone. So you can check all those things out at your leisure. Yeah, you know, the webinar, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the webinar is kind of long. So that's why I'm thinking of pre-recording it, because then you guys can stop, you can think, you can have a rest, cup of tea, and then you can go back in. Because the Mystic's View is really a big breath. It's like the panoramic view, right? So I don't know, you guys can let me know after, and I will have a little forum that you can post all your things on, because so that we can have some questions answered, and maybe go into a little depth there. But other than that, yeah, link below to the webinar. I'm gonna go now, and I hope to see you soon. I hope you have a great day wherever you are. Take care. Bye.